and so it's an uncomfortable feeling.
Yes, that feels, yes.
Now, let's talk a little bit, Vinnie, about, you know, you were raised with a certain standard of you know, code of ethics, shall we say. And how do you balance that now? How do you come to terms with that? How do you balance that and still honor the family business and, you know, the family in general, or your hood, your peer group, your friends, and still evolve?
Yeah. Well, as I've said, I really don't feel that there was such a big chasm, if I may use that big word, between the way that I operated, or my father operated, and the way I'm growing now. I definitely feel like I'm more careful with my words and not as likely, for example, to order hits on others, but at the same time, I do feel as though I was always taking care of my peeps and compassionate. I took care of many people in difficult situations with medical problems and things. So, you know, I think that what is lost in the overreaction to, you know, say the more extreme feminist movement was that a great many men, in their own quiet way, maybe not in a way that women wanted them to communicate, but in their own quiet way, were living their lives totally inhabiting that role of loving and protecting their family and their village. And millions of men have perished at war protecting other. And, you know, so many have, you know, woken up in the morning, put on their suit and tie, put on their sales mask, gone out in the world to try to make money, to pay for the mortgage, and without complaining about it, without even thinking about it, accepting it as what life is. And I think we need to give a little bit more credit where credit is due, you know, because I've done that even before I started in psychotherapy, and I was sure I was a bad guy in some ways, but not in every way, you know.
No, not at all. And even in telling that story, you know, it showed that you still had your compassionate heart pretty well aware within you to take care of others. And regardless of how you did that, you still were doing for those you loved. And see, that's the part that needs to be honored, because in everyone exists a desire to love and to be loved. And so that's really where it all comes down to, doesn't it? I mean, it's like, how would you see a conscious relationship for you, Vinnie, or is that not even something that's on the horizon for you at this point? You're just kind of going through the motions and learning as you go.
Well, you know, people write about this thing. It's a new way to sell books, conscious relationship. What we're talking about, my view of conscious relationship is just good talking, good food, and lots of fun. But that includes, when I say good talking, I mean good communication. So you don't build up a whole stockpile of anger. You know, to me, that's conscious relationship. Listen, life is not easy. There's no perfect conscious formula here, because life is always going to throw you for a loop. That's how it works, you know. So to me, conscious relationship just means treating each other with respect, you know, and learning how to enjoy life together. That's very simple for me. Yeah.
And that's,
I don't need to sit on a meditation cushion. Yeah, I don't need to sit in a meditation cushion, detaching from reality, you know, so that I can come from my most perfect moment. For me, conscious relationship means we're in the full mishpucha of reality together, as my Jewish friends say.
You know, that's what I like about you, Vinnie, is that you take every day in its entirety and look at it from a perspective that's a little bit broader than the actual event itself. And as as you're obviously evolving, you do it more and more all the time. So, you know, kudos, Vin.
Yeah, I have a witness observer. I have a witness observer on my shoulder all the time when I'm acting, even when I'm acting stupid.
See? Look, and were you aware of this always, or was this something that kind of evolved in an awareness for you? Were you always aware of the witness?
No, it happened more in my teen years a little, and I have a name for my witness, and I talk to this part of me and just to check in about whether I'm handling things properly.
And is there compassion from your witness, or is your witness like slap you upside the head with a 2x4 occasionally?
Both. It's as though my witness is comparing my behavior to some level of possibility. I call my witness Lucky Charm. And so my Lucky Charm is there to invite me, I guess, in the direction of the best possible me.
And I think that you've also, in regard to having, Jeff as your buddy, as your friend, as your pal,
right.
I'm sure he also, gives you a good perspective every once in a while as well.
Well, I give him one too. I give him one too because he gets so soft and gooey that there's nobody home anymore. And I try to ground him. I'm like a grounding rod for him because he, if he had his way, he'd just be in the basement floating and writing on the walls and like an artist. And sometimes he forgets the bottom line too. And then when he forgets the bottom line, things fall apart and he can't create. So, I serve a very constructive purpose for him too. It's again, I'm challenging you on this idea that it's as though I as the, what you call like the dinosaur man, I don't have something to offer. Well, I do. In a way, I'm like a voice of reality for people like him.
Yeah, you are a voice of reality, and you're more of, the average or typical male persona in regard to who is out there and what women are dealing with in regard to, where a woman is in regard to a man like you. Because 9 times out of 10, a woman will come into a relationship with someone, with your type of a personality, Vinnie, and have these old, fantasy trips going on in her head of how relationships can be, and it's termed that whole Cinderella syndrome. And I'm sure you squash that pretty well. I'm sure you bring her to reality pretty easily with that.
I'm a realist, and I'm proud of that.
Right. Yeah. And you're also, to give yourself a lot more credit in regard to, you're not a dinosaur. I don't see you, Vinnie, as a dinosaur. I see you as a man who's brave enough to really open up in a world that hasn't really embraced a man of your caliber to open up as easily and freely as you do. So,
thank you.
You've really come such great strides, and I'm not going to give your psychotherapist the credit. I'm going to give you credit because it's all about you. It's all about all of us. It's an individual choice, and to make that choice of connection or disconnect, that's free will.
That's right.
So
yes, that's right. I exercise my free will often. Yeah. Absolutely.
Now
Absolutely.
We have about 5-6 minutes here left. Who would Vinnie like to talk to me, or would Jeff like to talk to me about what the overall?
Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No. I was just Jeff's downstairs. Yeah, Jeff's downstairs.
Okay. All right, Vin. Then you're with me. So, where do you see yourself going from in this evolution? Do you feel like you're going to get to a point where you say,
"Yeah,
that's it"?
Oh no! Hold on. She doesn't want to talk to you. Hold on. I had to tell him. No, I don't think it stops. I don't think it stops. I think once you open the door, you cross over a little bit and start to do the soul shaping. That it becomes very difficult to hold back. Lucky Charm is on my shoulder, keeps nudging me, pestering me, annoying me, everything I do, is this really, consistent with who you are? Is this, is this the way you should eat? Is this the way it just goes on. I want to kill Lucky Charm sometimes, but, at the same time, I feel as though there's an evolution happening, both within myself and within people around me. That's, I think the important thing is not to get too pie in the sky about it, but just to do the real work. I stopped seeing my psychotherapist. I got sick of paying her $250 an hour just to sit there. But after a while, I realized I needed that because I needed to relate my things that were happening to another human being, and so I think you just got to stay in the real work of it. And, that kind of hyperactive, pumped up the secret kind of thing, forget that stuff. You got to go inside and do the real work so that you can sustain the changes that happen for you. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's no instantaneous magic wand that's going to come in and make us different unless we're doing it, unless we're going into it.
No way. Generations and generations of patterns don't change in 5 minutes, blink of an eye. It's stupidity to even think it's possible.
Now, there's also that piece of opening up to a perspective that can change who we are. So there are those little glimpses of light where we have those aha moments in regard to, oh, yeah, well, that really, sucked when I did that. So that's been the pattern and that's been the result of that action. I guess I'll change that action. Have you found that? And in these last few minutes, what in finding that, because I know you've evolved so much, Vinnie, what could you share with our women listeners, our female listeners, that might help them in understanding men like you?
Well, men like me. I'm a typical man. So, I think the important thing is to try to understand that we are the same. We're not. We're very similar. Maybe the genders went too far, so we have extreme ideas of gender. But at the same time, bottom line is we're human, and women need to understand at this stage of development that men will not communicate like their girlfriends. Forget about it. That's not how we're built. We do communicate our love in our actions to help others, protect others, go to work, change our mask to put it on and off to deal with the crazy market. We get in our egos not always because it's so much fun, but because we need that to deal with the market and our job. And, there's competition. It's the world to understand and to be imaginative in the way that they look at how we communicate, to learn how to translate us, if I could say it like that, in a different way than the way they usually do. That we do show love, we just may not show it like they do, and that's okay. That's okay.
Right, and they also, have, again, to go into that Cinderella fantasyism, they do, tend to want the all-sensitive male, which would be, very difficult for a man who's rooted in his essence. So there's a need to balance that and not look for men to be women and not look for men to be different than us, but to embrace the difference and to honor the strengths.
Right. We just got to work together and Jeff's right in the new apology, to identify what is the healthy masculine, what is the healthy feminine, instead of throwing all gender out with the bathwater.
I agree, Jeff. I agree. And this has been such an enlightening interview. I've really enjoyed, Vinnie, talking to you. And if Jeff is there, Jeff, thank you for your intro in the beginning of the show.
Yeah. She doesn't want to talk to you. It's okay. He's got to deal with his rejection issues now. You're helping him. Yeah. She says whatever. Yeah. It's all good.
Send in the love. Send in the love there.
I enjoyed our talk. It was good I drank. It lost a little bit of my edge, so it made the show go down a little better.
Yeah, it's an early morning for that. But, the residual effects. It's been a great interview, Vin. Really loved it. I think you gave a lot of insight.
Okay, good. Well,
God
that's
bless.
good.
Have a wonderful week.
Bye.
All right.
Bye,
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Jeff. Thank